Welcome to the Irresistible You podcast. This is the place to get a dose of empowerment to create the life you crave and deserve. My name is Amy with two E's, and I am the CEO and founder of Irresistible University. Through my podcast and programs, I teach women just like you how to ditch the body image issues, gain confidence, and lose the emotional weight to look and feel irresistible at any size. Welcome to episode 218. Today, we are talking about what are you associating with your goal weight? This is going to be a good one, you guys. So I want you to think about that term for a second, goal weight. How many times have you said that word, thought about that word, and use that phrase? And it was funny, a few years back, I was talking with a business coach, and she actually said to me, "What do you mean by goal weight?" Like it came out in a way that I realized people that have never truly struggled with their weight don't necessarily know the meaning of that, or they don't know it in the way that we do. And I know that when we struggle with our weight and our body image, we have so many things wrapped up and packaged into this ideal, this dream, this fantasy of what the goal weight means, of what it entails, of who you will become. And so I want to really unpack that today and talk about what it is you are actually associating with the term goal weight. It's not just a term, right? It's become a concept for us. It's become a goal, a fantasy, a dream that we have. And so we're going to unpack that and talk about what you are associating with your goal weight. So when you think about your goal weight, I know that when you're listening to this, I know you have a number in your head, right? You have a number in your brain that you have identified for whatever reason, right? We have different reasons. Where does that goal weight number come from? Well, it could come from a time in your life where you were that number and you associate that number with really positive things, or, that was the best time in my life when I weighed this amount. It could be a random number that was thrown at you. Thank you, Weight Watchers, right? Where you went into Weight Watchers and you did the little calculations and you saw the chart and you said, yep, that's my goal weight. That's what I have to weigh. And speaking of Weight Watchers, I know for me, that's where the term originally came from for me many, many years ago, back in like the early 2000s, because that's what they always talked about is your goal weight. Oh, if you get to goal, you become lifetime, right? And so maybe that's where your goal weight number came from. Maybe it came from some, as much as I hate these things, the BMI chart at your doctor's office, right? Where you sit there and look at your height and your weight and you figure out your BMI and your ideal weight should be, X, which we all know that is antiquated and outdated, and it's not accurate. It doesn't take into consideration a lot of things. Where did your goal weight come from? I want you to first think about that as we're going through the episode today, is to pause and think, where did I get this number from? Why am I so focused on this one particular number? Why is that? Where did it come from for me? Because it's probably been so long that you really haven't even, thought about it or even consider, if that's still even relevant. So number one, we're going to do some reflection work, right? To think about, where did this number come from? How did I determine what my goal weight is? Number two, what I want you to do now is think about, is that still relevant? Not is that possible, right? But is this number relevant based on my current place in life, based on my current lifestyle, my current health, my current just season of life, right? Like maybe that goal weight was something that you wanted when you were 25 and now you're 40 and it's maybe not the same, right? Like, so think about that. Why did you come up with that number? And is that still something that matters? Is it still something that you should be shooting for? And think about it in that way. And then we're going to get into what I feel like is the most important part of this process. And that is doing a deep dive, doing a self-reflection around what you associate that goal weight with. Because if we unpeel all of the layers of this, because there's a lot of layers to weight and body image, right? If we peel back all of the layers, we're going to realize that it's not about the number on the scale. It's not about, let's say the goal weight is 150, okay? It's not about weighing exactly 150 pounds. That's not what the goal weight symbolizes. Because when we think about goal weight, like I said at the beginning, it's not just a number, it's not just a term, it's become a concept in our mind. And when you think about your goal weight, and we'll use the 150 example, when we think about the 150, it's not about seeing that number on the scale day in and day out. It's about what you have drafted in your brain, in your mind, in your thoughts about what it means to weigh 150 pounds, okay? And what is it that you are associating with that number? What do you think weighing that weight is going to do for you? What will life be like at that number? If we break down the concept of goal weight, that's what it's all about. It's not about the number on the scale. It's about what we believe will happen to us when we become that number on the scale. And what do you have wrapped up in that dream, that fantasy, that huge thing that you're constantly wishing and praying for? What do you have wrapped up in that? And one of the things that we really have to think about and we have to start practicing is that what if instead of waiting for the weight, waiting to get to that goal, waiting to get to that made up goal weight, however it was you came up with that number, what if instead of waiting on the weight, we instead focused on all of the things you just listed out that are associated with that weight? Okay. So for example, when you think about your goal weight, you might think, oh my God, if I could just get to 150, I would be more confident. I could wear whatever I wanted to wear. I would feel more free in my body. I would be more confident, so I would go after my dreams that have nothing to do with weight, right? I would apply for that director position. I would start the business that I've always wanted to start. I will be more present in my children's lives because I won't be afraid to be seen. I'll be okay taking up space in the world. I will have a better, relationship with my husband, with my kids, with my fill in the blank. So make that list. I think it's really important that you as you might be driving, you might be multitasking while you're listening to this, but that you take some time to go back and listen and do the actual reflection, right? Create that list of what the goal weight means to you. What are you associating with weighing that number? Who will you become? What will life be like? How is life going to be different when you're thin versus when you're overweight? And why will it be different? And we need to then understand that we've been sold a lie our entire life from the diet industry, that we see these magical before and after transformations, right? We see the stories, we see the makeovers, we see the commercials, we see the, so-and-so just bounced back and got their body back 4 weeks after the baby was born. Like, okay, sure. And so we think that has to happen for me too. I also want that fairy tale, right? I want that fairy tale ending of what the goal weight is going to mean. And that's actually just not true. Like, sorry to burst anybody's bubble or rain on your parade, but your dream life that you crave isn't going to show up knocking at the door because the weight fell off. And, if you're someone that's listening to this podcast, you have experience losing weight. You have experience knowing what it's like to gain and lose. So think about all the times in your life that you lost the weight. Did you magically become the fantasy version of you? Probably not. Probably not, because we have been conditioned to believe that once we get to that number, then we can become all of those things that I just said, or whatever it is that's on your list, right? Then we can become more confident. But instead of becoming more confident, we trade one problem for another. We get to our goal weight, we do the work, we lose the weight, we get to our goal weight, and we trade one problem for another. And instead of beating ourselves up for having fat rolls, we're now beating ourselves up because we have loose skin. We're now beating ourselves up because we've lost fat in our face, right? So now our face looks old and it looks haggard and it looks, we tell ourselves all these crazy things, right? We beat ourselves up now for the aftermath of the weight loss without taking a beat to actually sit in the success of it, without taking a beat to congratulate ourselves, to be proud of ourselves, to be like, damn, I did that. To have compassion for the before picture, not to beat up the before picture, but to look at the before picture and have compassion for what that woman was going through. And that woman is still standing. She's still here. She's still fighting. She is still breathing. She is still here. And you need to have more compassion for her and less hate for her. You got to have the empathy. And so, just become all of those things because the weight comes off, especially when you lost your weight in a silo. And what do I mean by that? When I say that, what I mean is, you shut the world out so that you could just focus on your weight loss. You put your head down, you said no to events, you said no to activities, you said no to being social, you said no to being seen because you just wanted to get the weight off as fast and quickly as you could. So you lost the weight in a silo and said, I just am so full of hatred of this fat that I just want it off as quick as humanly possible. And I will do anything I have to do, whether it's sacrificing my happiness, whether it's sacrificing my well-being, whether it's sacrificing my health. I'm going to do whatever it takes to just get it off as fast as possible. And you desperate diet. That's what I call desperate dieting. And you desperate diet in a silo, and then you come up for air, right? You come up for air. Yes, you've lost the weight. You come out of that. And like I said, what happens now? You trade one problem for another. You trade one hatred of yourself for another because you still don't feel good enough. And you don't feel good enough because you didn't put the work in that is required for a true weight loss journey. A true weight loss journey is not getting from A to B and losing the 50 pounds, the 100 pounds, however much it is. That is not what a true weight loss transformation is supposed to be. A true weight loss journey goes from A to B to C to D to D to A to Z. Like you are bouncing, you are losing, you are gaining, you are maintaining, you are plateauing, you are doing all of that. But through all of that, you aren't giving up and you aren't throwing in the towel. Through all of that, you are learning how to be you. You are learning how to be all of the things that you have associated with your goal weight. That's a true weight loss journey, because when you do it that way, and when I say that way, when you think about the Irresistible You framework, I have 5 guiding principles. All of those guiding principles are what is required in order to lose weight for the last time. And notice how I said that, for the last time. This doesn't just happen because you get to your goal weight, okay? So the mindset that you have to take on is not waiting for the weight to start doing all the things you've associated with the end. You have to create the life you crave now in order to lose the weight. You can't wait for the weight to create the life you crave. If you start creating the life you crave now, it will be 1,000 times easier to lose the weight. And when you get to your goal, you won't still hate yourself. It will be the icing on the cake to this beautiful transformation that you have gone through. So you have to start creating the life you crave now, not once you get to your goal weight. Because true weight loss, as we know here, is not just about what you're eating. It's not just about how you're moving. It's not just about a number on the scale. It's about the emotional weight. It's about the mental weight. It's about just all of that weight, that invisible weight that you are carrying that is preventing you from losing the physical weight. So yeah, you could suffer, you could desperate diet, and we all know from experience that we can get the weight off. We've all done the stupid diets. We've all done them. Hello, right? Deal a meal, okay? Deal a meal. Richard Simmons. The Special K diet, the grapefruit diet, the Atkins diet, the South Beach diet, the Subway diet. I mean, my God, have we not done them all? And what did they get us? They got us right back to where we started from, but feeling even worse about ourselves because we broke trust in ourselves by creating a story that we can't do it. See, I told you can't do it. So we broke trust and we broke confidence in ourselves. So you already have the proof that doing it that way doesn't work. And one of the things you have to do as well that's really hard for people is you have to throw away the timeline. You cannot have a timeline on it. We're not in a race because you are in a race with yourself when you desperate diet. When you approach weight loss from this is the last time I'm going to do this because I'm going to actually learn how to love myself, how to be more confident, and how to create the life I crave now. When you do it that way, you won't feel pressured for time because you have all the time that you need. You don't have this bullshit made up timeline of when you have to get to the goal weight. And it also takes that pressure off because you're going to start learning how to do the things you've associated with goal now at your highest weight. Because let me tell you this, if you can do the scary stuff now, when you weigh your highest number, think about what you're going to be capable of when you get to your lowest number. And how that will give you proof and evidence and confidence to know that you can do anything you put your mind to. Because it's hard to put yourself out there. I don't care if you're thin or fat. It's hard. Life comes at you. Life is lifing. Life is hard. And it's hard to put yourself out there. It's scary. And it's even scarier to put yourself out there when you're not 100% comfortable in your own skin. That's like living in a prison. And it feels like you're living in a prison when you want to bust out of your own body so bad. I can remember fantasizing about cutting my skin, like wanting to have a tool that could literally just cut all the fat off. And I could, and there's this there's this carving, this art sculpture, and it's so powerful where it's like this overweight man. And inside there's this like muscular, fit guy who's got like a chisel and he's chiseling his way out of the fat. And that's exactly how it feels, right? So just imagine if you can do it now, what it's going to be like when you get there. Okay? And breaking out of this before and after story that we've all been sold that, yes, you can have a before and after, right? We can have a before version and an after version and a during version. But I think saying you have an after version is dangerous because it assumes that you're done, right? If I say now this is my after, it assumes that you're done. It assumes that you never have to do this again. It assumes that you never have to do the work. And you may not have to lose the weight, but girl, you got to maintain the weight. And how are you going to do that? You have to be able to maintain the weight because, again, life is going to life. What are you going to do when life throws something hard at you and you're used to using food as a coping mechanism? If you learn how to cope with life at your largest as you're coming down the scale, then that becomes a non-issue. It just becomes an issue of being mindful about it. So, I talk a lot about thinking about the life you crave. And let's talk about cravings. The cravings that you're having for food, that's not what you're really craving. A lot of times, there's a real emotional craving that's underneath of, oh my God, I'm craving cheesecake. And maybe it is just that. Maybe sometimes it is just a craving for the food. And that's okay. That's healthy. Okay? What's not healthy is masking the real emotional craving with the food cravings. And we think that food is a problem solver. No, it's a problem giver. It can be a problem giver because when you're masking things in your life and you're wanting to escape and you're not wanting to deal and you're emotionally eating, how is food getting you through that time? How is food solving the problem? It might solve the problem temporarily in that moment. It's a temporary distraction, but the problem is still there, right? And so we have to then turn our food cravings into going after what we're truly craving in life. Whatever that may be for you, right? Everybody has different things, right? So whatever it may be for you. So as you listen to this, I really want you to think again about what does goal weight mean to you? Who do you become at goal weight? And when you look at that list, what are the things that you can start doing now, today, this week, to step into that version of you? Now, it's not going to come in a day. It's not going to come in a week. But you're starting to build the case, to build the evidence, right, if you will, to become that version. And weight loss, a true weight loss journey, a transformational weight loss journey, can really be a confidence booster because why? Well, when you tell yourself you're going to do something and you do it, you build trust in yourself. And the more you build back the trust in yourself, because right now your trust is not there. You don't trust yourself. You've let yourself down too many times. So when you start to build that trust up, it also builds your confidence. Okay? And you start to see, oh, wow, I can do this. And also, I always tell you guys that don't focus on the weight every week that's on the scale. Like, that's one tool, right? It's one tool. It's a data point. But what you really want to focus on is, did I put in the work? Did I do what I said I was going to do this week? That's what you start to become proud of. Because at the end of the day, the goal, the weight on the scale is not going to matter because, I've thrown a number out for myself on what I think I want my goal weight to be, right? So that I can have kind of an idea, right, of what that looks like. Because I think that's important. We need to kind of have a range of where we want to be. But I don't know how I will feel physically when I get there. If I get there and it's not low enough or it's too high or what have you, then I make adjustments. If I start to get down to the 190s or the 180s and I feel really good there, then it's okay to stay there, right? And so that's another thing, is that we don't believe we should feel happy, satisfied, content, confident at that number. Right? Because to someone else, that number is high. But what if at that number, you were at your optimal health, your peak performance? Like, that's where you feel really good. You got to do you. I don't give a shit what anybody else thinks of me, what anyone else says of me. And that includes doctors. That includes health professionals. I don't care. I'm the one who has to live here. I'm the one who has to be here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So I better make damn sure that I like it here, because I wouldn't want to live anywhere that I don't like. That's not a good time. And I'm not going to live somewhere just because someone tells me it's a good neighborhood. Maybe I don't think it is. Maybe I don't like it there, right? So evaluate as you go down the scale of, like, do I like it here? Am I healthy here? Is this where I want to be? Am I okay to be here? And again, there's like so much social programming that's been done that's going to tell you otherwise. That's going to tell you, no, unless you're at your goal weight, you're not healthy. Nope, unless you're at your ideal BMI, you're not healthy. Nope, unless you're in a single digit clothing size, you're not healthy, you're not beautiful, you're not shit. You have a lot of social programming that you have to undo. That is that emotional weight that you carry with you. So really think about, if the weight wasn't here, if I was in my dream body today, who would I be? And why do I think I would be different? Because that's the other thing. Are you able to change some of personality things, like being more confident, being more bold, being more outspoken? Absolutely. Those things take practice. If you are not naturally outspoken, it takes practice, okay? I was always a painfully shy child, okay? To the point where in elementary school, at the end of the year, how they give out awards, right? Like silly awards. I was given the most soft-spoken award. And I was so embarrassed, so incredibly humiliated and pissed that is all anyone thought of me. That I was just this quiet kid that no one bothered to get to know. So you don't know any other thing to award me with, because you haven't taken the time to get to know me. And so I went through a lot of my younger years being painfully shy. I mean, I would almost want to vomit from having to do presentations, to now, like, sure, I'll get nervous at certain meetings or certain things where I have to speak up. It's never like always a pleasant experience, but I do it anyway. I do it through the fear. And I think I do it pretty well. And being a parent especially, like, forces you out of your comfort zone in so many ways. And one of those ways, having to be more outspoken to stand up for your kids when shit isn't right. Whether that's with another family, whether that's with another kid, whether that's with another parent or a teacher or whatever. Like, I've been put in those situations, and no one is going to treat my kids a certain type of way, okay? So it pushes you to become that person. So are there parts of your personality that you can improve on? Absolutely. But you also need to understand that maybe this fantasy you have of yourself, you need to bring it back to reality, right? If I am naturally an introverted person, which I am not going to become extroverted because I lose weight. I can play an extrovert, but I am not an extroverted person. My comfort zone is very much an introverted person, hands down. Like I get overstimulated very easily after I've been around a lot of people or like social thing. I need time to come down from that. That's not going to change because I lose weight. Okay. What's going to change is what I told you, learning how to be more confident in my speaking, learning how to stand up for myself, and learning how to be confident enough to not be afraid to take up space. Because a lot of times you're overweight, you don't want to take up space. You don't want to be seen. You don't want to make a scene. You don't want to, be the disruptive one, be the one that's always got to say something because then everybody sees you. And there's that fear of, oh my God, loudmouth, the fat loudmouth, right? You don't want to be called that. Who gives a shit? Like, honestly, I can say at this point in time in my life, none of that's going to hurt my feelings. It's going to tell me who you are. It's not going to tell me who I am. Even if, like, there was times in my life, a good majority of my life, where just being terrified of being called fat. It was the worst possible thing I could hear because it was confirmation, right? And when you are overweight, that is always the go-to insult. I don't care how horrible of a person you are, that is always the go-to insult, or how good of a person you are, they will always come for you about your weight. And I can honestly say now, if anyone were to say something to me about my weight or call me fat or call me a name, it tells me every single thing I need to know about you. It tells me nothing about myself. And congratulations for calling out the obvious. I'm not skinny. Wow. Really? Wow. We know opposites, don't we? We can use our adjectives and we can know opposites. Congratulations. Like, it just shows how much of a small, pathetic person you are when you call people out for their weight. So don't be afraid of that. Do the work for yourself to build your confidence so that you're unbreakable in that way. I know who I am. I know what I bring to the table. And if you can't see that and you don't appreciate that, don't fucking sit at my table. Like, point, period. Don't sit at my table then. So you got to start putting it in now. Stop waiting for the weight. Stop fantasizing about what's going to happen when you get to your goal weight and start making it happen now. The beautiful thing about a dream or a fantasy is you can start making it a reality. You have the control and the power to start doing that today. Today. Okay? You don't like the way you look? Fine. Put in the work to take the weight off. But while you're doing that, do things for yourself to acknowledge and accept where you are right now. Right? Find clothes that fit you now. Don't wait to lose 20 pounds because it's not fun to sit around and look like shit because of your clothes. Don't wait to lose the weight to put your makeup on, to make yourself look nice. Do it now, because the more you do yourself up like that and get your glam on, the more you want to do good for you and for other people. It's a chain reaction. So we can definitely talk about that in more detail in another episode, but we're going to start to wrap things up here. So just to recap, I want you to reflect on what your goal weight is and where it came from. What is your goal weight? Where did that number come from? Is that number still relevant? Should that still be the goal? Okay. And what kind of life do you associate with your goal weight? What kind of person will you become at that weight? Make a list. Okay. And then let's start working on those things now. Because remember, we have to create the life we crave in order to lose weight for the last time. We can't wait for the weight to create the life we crave. All right, we're going to wrap things up here. I want to thank you so much for your time and thank you so much for listening. As a reminder, my favorite place to listen to podcasts is on Amazon Music. If you are an Amazon Prime member, you get access to Amazon Music for free. There are millions of songs, albums, podcasts you can get on there. If you're not a Prime member, I have a link in the show notes that will give you a 30-day free trial. I will be on Instagram. If you haven't followed me, that was a really weird way to say that. I will be on Instagram. I am on Instagram. Instagram is my social media of choice. Yes, I'm on Facebook. I really have learned to hate Facebook with all of its bullshit lately with the ads. And it's a mess over there. And I still don't know what we're going to do with the group. It's kind of on a pause. So let's connect on Instagram. That is where I share the most. That is where I will notify you of new episodes, behind the scenes. And also, if you're not on my email list, you need to make sure you get on that list so that no matter what social media exists or doesn't exist going forward, we don't lose connection there as well. So all of those links are down in the show notes. Also, if you're on Apple Podcast, if you would leave a rating and review, I would greatly appreciate that. I will catch you all in the next episode. Until then, stay irresistible. Bye, guys.